We are kicking off with a little more housekeeping. I'm enjoying talking about 2H Media at the start of our streams. Yeah. This time we're talking about the 2H Media Shopify AMA recap. In late January, we ran our first Shopify AMA of the year in collaboration with Shopify. The recent AMA focused on marketing questions for small businesses, and in answering those questions, we noticed some common trends. A lot of small businesses are struggling to find their audiences without breaking the bank. Also, a lot of small businesses aren't sure what products to focus on or how many products they need to carry. There is still a ton of misinformation surrounding SEO, and a surprising number of business owners blame bots for low conversion rates. We really enjoyed running the AMA, and we have more great content planned for 2025 in collaboration with the Shopify team.
Yes.
So first discussion question, can we just share some of our thoughts on the trends we found in our recent AMA?
There was lots of conversation. So the topic of the AMA was marketing in general.
Yep.
Obviously being Shopify, it was 90% e-commerce businesses. They might have had a brick and mortar element to them. A lot of them were very new to being business owners. A lot of like early stage startups, some pre-revenue.
Yeah.
A lot of people had questions around making the most out of advertising on Meta.
Yep. Well, so again, we've compiled some trends in putting this together. So like the first one, a lot of small businesses are struggling in general to find their audiences without spending a ton of money.
Yes.
This is a major challenge, and it's something I think a lot of people don't realize that they're going to have to contend with when they get into e-commerce, particularly when they launch their own e-commerce store. I saw a couple of small businesses who said, I have higher sales on Pinterest than I do on my Shopify site. And they didn't understand that, the reason for that is that Pinterest is a marketplace.
Not Pinterest, Etsy.
Sorry, Etsy.
Etsy.
Yeah, I have higher sales through my Etsy store than my Shopify site. And that's because they didn't realize that Etsy is a marketplace and Shopify is mostly just a storefront that exists on your tiny back alley website that no one knows the location of.
Yes.
That's changing a little bit, but it's a slow change because like Shopify is pushing the Shop app, which has more of a marketplace feel to it. I've been saying for years, this feels like their attempt to create an Amazon competitor.
Yep.
But it hasn't reached the level of Amazon yet in terms of popularity. Like, I never go to the Shop app looking for things to buy. I buy from a lot of Shopify sites because it's one of the top e-commerce platforms.
Yep, me too.
But I'm not going on the Shop app and looking for like things from the random e-commerce stores that I buy from.
I don't even if we're going to we use Amazon all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm typing my search term into their search and a whole bunch of businesses show up and you look and you find something and we know the checkout's easy and it's going to be here instantly next to that, but I've never once thought, I'm going to go to the Shop app and find it.
Yeah.
I've never done that once.
So knowing that putting your product on Shopify isn't going to make it sell automatically, we had a lot of people going how do I use the Shopify marketing tools? How am I going to get discovered now that I'm on Shopify? And it's that's not the platform's job. You've got to go out and do a bunch of marketing to make it happen. And people are going, okay, I don't have a lot of money. I can't spend a ton on ads. And some people were even saying, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time.
Don't start a business.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough to make any money if you don't have a big surplus of at least one of those things.
What resources do you have to work with? Time and money, combination of both. If you don't have one, you better have the other. If you don't have either, save up, find something.
Now, for those people that had already started a business and were in that position, I still tried to give them some advice that wasn't just quit, throw in the towel.
Yes.
Yes. And so what I landed on is, okay, if you've got limited options because you don't have a ton of time to invest in just slowly building a social media presence, and you don't have the money to just throw at ads, well, then you need to make your time really, really impactful. Every second that you put into your business needs to amount to a lot. And so what I came back to is like traditional sales and in-person like networking and marketing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have time to build your business yourself, you need to find a way to leverage other people's time to make that happen. And the only way you can do that is through things like selling on commission.
Selling on commission is great.
Right? Finding wholesale distributors who might be interested in your product and stocking it and giving you, money to put in their stores, or giving you a consignment fee when they actually make the sale. Like, there's lots of ways you can structure it.
Yep.
But the idea is, if you can't like go out and build an audience because you don't have the time, you don't have the money, and you likely don't have the skill set to just like go viral on social media, you are better off building some relationships and trying to leverage those connections. Another trend that I didn't list here actually, but that I saw a lot from talking to businesses in that AMA, a lot of drop shippers.
A lot of drop shippers, and this wasn't specifically a drop shipper AMA. Shopify had just done a drop shipping AMA the month prior with an internal team member of Shopify that went quite well.
Yep.
But yeah, tons of drop shipping's a hard market.
It's really, really tough. And like a lot of the advice I just shared in terms of like, find other people to like sell on commission basis or like stock your products on consignment, that will work 0% of the time if you're just like white labeling some Chinese product and trying to drop ship it. Because as a small business owner, or like as someone else who's going to rep your brand or share your product in their space, there's not a lot of motivation to stock your like generic off the shelf products. That really actually ties into the second big trend I saw from talking to small businesses in the AMA.
Yes.
People weren't sure what products to focus on or like how many products they need to carry. One of their businesses I responded to had been in business for 8 to 9 months is the range they gave.
Okay, so under a year.
And had pivoted from selling clothing to selling baby products.
That's a pivot.
Same website, same everything, and they just took all the clothing products down, replaced them with baby products, and they went,
why isn't it working?
They go, I'm doing like SEO and social media. And it's like, well, it's not working because those are super, super slow long-term strategies. And
you've got to be a dynamite on social media to get that to go fast.
Yeah. Right? Like less than a year is not enough time to see if that strategy's been successful. It's really tricky. And like, I wish
the same store.
On the same store.
So you're actually starting from a negative because like all of your existing things that could have been partially working or like even at the 1% mark are now back to zero, probably in the minus. And now a search engine is going to be like, oh, what is your URL all about? What is your store all about? Or what is your and it's just like, oh.
And each of these product lines also had even less a year to be successful because they switched somewhere in that range. Right? So like that's a tiny amount of time to try selling these products through a platform like Shopify.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to try and sell like, random products that you're white labeling and like bringing in and then just like trying to push into an ecosystem and get out there, number one, you really need to have a really good trend to jump on.
Yeah.
And number two, I think you need to be selling through a marketplace or be like a social media god.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the way to like push that product out quickly to a huge audience,
it'll die.
Right.
You're sitting on whatever inventory or not inventory, but like all the time, you've probably put some ad dollars in place. You've spent time building the store, putting in the photography, like all of that. It's the core. We talked a lot about the other day or yesterday behind the scenes. We talked a lot about like why you get into business.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like they found their why. Why are they in business? So it's like, why are you doing this thing? Because like, great, maybe you have to pivot. Maybe something changes in the marketplace. Maybe something changes in your personal life. But like that why needs to be there because it sounds like you're just chasing money. It sounds like you're chasing a trend.
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's less that they haven't found their why because like a lot of people are coming from a place of desperation. Like the employment market's really rough.
It is.
And everyone has a side hustle these days. And people are looking for ways to get ahead of the curve that you can't by just like going and clocking in at your 9 to 5 over and over and over again. So I think a lot of people have really strong whys because they have a need to make more money. What they're lacking is their value proposition and their unfair advantage. right? If you're going and you're starting a drop shipping store because you watched some YouTube video where someone told you, get into drop shipping, you'll make all this money, you've got no competitive advantage because you don't have any of the skill set, you don't have any of the experience, you don't have unique connections.
There's a factory pumping out 1 million of these a day.
Right, and that factory is going to make a bunch of money.
Yep.
But like, we saw a ton of businesses saying, I've been in business for 12 months and I literally have 0 sales. I directed a lot of those businesses to our video that we did a while ago on like troubleshooting low revenue on an e-commerce store, troubleshooting low sales, because like that could be a lot of things. It could be that your store's not set up well. It could be that your offer isn't appealing. It could be that your shipping settings are throwing people off.
Yeah.
It could be that your checkout doesn't work, right? Or it could be that you're just simply not driving a lot of traffic to your store, and you kind of got to examine all of these factors and figure out what it is. So it's a real struggle. But I talked to a lot of businesses through this AMA that were not sure what products to focus on, and we're like going way too broad. We see this all the time, and we saw it again here. We saw lots of businesses going, oh yeah, I've got 20 products and I'm trying to add more. And it's like, they've got this idea that they need to be a department store.
Yes. It's like,
right? Like
the question is why? Why do you need to be in a department store? Because it's a fallacy. That's false thinking.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah. You need to be good at like what you're good at. And like the more things that you try to be good at, the less good you're going to be at other things. So you're just being split too thin. So
we got a really fascinating question. Someone said they had a 1-product Shopify store, and they asked if that could be viable.
100%.
Right? And I'm like,
heck yeah.
It absolutely can. Now, the caveat to that is it's much easier to do with a high ticket item.
Yep.
Because if you've got, a $20 tchotchke, selling enough volume of those to make this your income is going to be really challenging. If you sell a $50,000 piece of manufacturing equipment and that's all you sell,
you're going to probably be okay.
Right. Because
we make the thing.
Yeah. And you only need to sell so many of them to pay for your overhead and be successful. Now it's maybe a bad example because if you're manufacturing something that complex, you've probably got a ton of overhead in terms of like producing the thing. But if you can go like higher ticket and super specialized and then like put the effort in to making your store present that product really well.
I know tons of businesses. Like there's a pottery place not far from here. They make cups.
Yeah.
Sure, they might be like different variants. They make cups.
Yep.
That's it. No plates, no vases. They make cups. The cups are sweet. The cups are cool. They sell cups. One product, like it's like that's what we got. We don't like.
Even look at a big brand like Yeti. Like they've branched out into a bunch of things.
Yeah, now. But like go back like 4 years. They sold cooler. No thermoses, no fancy cups, no nothing. They had coolers. Right. They had like 3 coolers in like 2 colors. That was it. And the coolers were just good. They kept ice like a week.
And even
that was it.
Now,
it was a cooler.
For the most part, their core product offering is their core product offering. Yep. Everyone knows what it is. Everyone recognizes a Yeti mug.
Yep. There's one behind me. There's 2 behind me. There's 10 over there. Yeah, we like them.
Look at like
one thing.
Big companies like Apple. Apple sells computers and phones and accessories for those devices.
Yep.
And they've kept the offer really tight, really high quality, really high value. And then they have these mile-long product pages telling you all of the features of those products insides and out. And they have lots of variants. Like they've got last year's iPhone, this year's iPhone, a bunch, like a couple of different levels of it.
Yeah, they got the all that.
But they are a big enough company that all of the products that they offer can receive the treatment they need in order to feel really premium and in order to stand out on the market. And so I would always rather see, all this is to say, I would always rather see e-commerce businesses sell a handful of products really, really effectively and put the effort into building out those product pages rather than trying to sell a super wide range of products and put in the minimum effort to each.
We've got stats on this. Shopify released some data a couple of years ago. Like some of the top performing Shopify stores are 10 products or less. And you really have to look at it and go like, if a customer didn't like your first 10, why are they going to like the 11th? Yeah. If you haven't got them on the first 10 of like your best offering, what makes you think like, oh, thank goodness we've got that 11th and 12th product up there, let alone 100.
Yeah.
Let alone 500. It's like,
That's a really good
Are
point.
we trying to be a grocery store? Are we trying to be a department store? Are you trying to be like, just do like a handful of things really, really well. Get that, and this is like the common thing with Yetis. Like if you can nail like your first couple, then you can build onto that brand and the social media following and the value that you've created. And then you can tack on your 12th item. Then you can bring in something else, but to create another revenue channel. Then you could do something else. But to try and start that wide is well, one, it's a waste of time, and then two, it's back to unfair advantage. Like, is the unfair advantage that you just have the biggest selection? That's going to be hard to do. That's going to be
It's
really
funny
hard
that
to
you
do.
say that. My introduction to business, I worked at a family business.
Yep.
And we were a jewelry store, and our company motto was selection, service, speed.
Selection, service, speed.
Because
Wholesale business.
Oh, yep.
Wholesale business. So like,
and
supplying
we
a lot of
rode
people.
that trend from like the early day. We were in the piercing industry, and we rode that trend from like the very beginning when that first started to take off.
Yeah.
But one of our
Way before
driving
e-commerce was even a thing.
forces when my parents founded the company was we're going to have the best selection of any company in Canada. And in the early days, that was really viable. There wasn't a lot of competition, and people were excited to try new things. So like we having this huge selection really helped us. When I was a young adult and started to get more involved in the management of the company, one of the first decisions I made was to cut our inventory in half.
Yeah.
At the time, we had hundreds of thousands of SKUs, and it was this massively complex amount of overhead. It was a crazy amount of information to jam into a product catalog, and the trend had leveled out. Piercing jewelry had gone mainstream, so not everyone was going to like mom and pop tattoo shops anymore. We were starting to see chains popping up across Canada. And so our volume was not the same as what it was in our heyday.
No.
And what I found was our similar products were competing with each other for sales.
So you're cannibalizing your own, which is like
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
You know, if we had a page of like 30 belly button rings with crystal dangly bits on them, and I cut that down to 15%,
So
belly
30 to
button
15.
rings
Yep.
with crystal dangly bits on them. Well, I didn't see a 50% drop in sales. I sold individually more of the pieces I was still stocking. And this solved a major inventory problem for us. Now, it's tricky when people are doing drop shipping or print on demand because they don't
And it's just
see
endless. Yeah.
well, they don't see the cost associated with carrying a super wide inventory,
Right.
right? Because you don't have to actually warehouse all of that.
Nope.
You don't have to pick and pack it. You just go, you know,
Goes on a pillow and a bed sheet and a cup and a coaster and a playing card and yeah. It's like, well,
which has all kinds of pitfalls to it. There were a lot of artists in the AMA.
Yep.
And a lot of them were doing print on demand, which makes sense if you're an artist. You can sell finished, like full pieces, you can sell prints, and you can sell your art on things. And if your art is good and people are buying for the art, odds are you don't really need to focus on like finding the highest quality
mug maker.
Right.
Right.
You can put it on a mug and people are buying it for the art. So it's okay. But when you try to sell mugs and pillows and cell phone cases, those products are going to appeal to very different audiences.
Yep.
And it's going to be very difficult for you to build a brand around any given line.
And now the art kind of gets lost in the mix.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're just focused on the art, like every time we've gone to a show, what's at the merch table? They've got some sweaters, they got some hoodies, crew neck, they got some band posters.
Sure.
They might have some like odds and ends, they might have some vinyl, they might have some album. Great. I've never seen a pillow. If I go on the band's website, if I go like the Queens of the Stone Age website, who has like awesome art for all of their concerts, I've never seen the Queens of the Stone Age official CD or official cell phone case.
Yeah, right?
I've never seen that. I've never seen the Queens of the Stone Age coffee mug. I've never seen
I'm sure
that.
you've seen it like Hot Topic.
Sure.
Right? Like it exists.
Sure,
If you're a big
I'm
enough brand,
sure it exists.
you can put it on anything. Because like I have seen a Stranger Things cell phone case.
Right.
That is a big enough brand.
But if
that
I
can
was
do
to
all the
go
products.
to that show where they are, that their brand is representing,
Oh, they're selling like albums and t-shirts.
they're selling the things that they because it's back to the audience.
Yeah.
The audience is not going there for the mugs and the pillows and the pillowcases. They're going there because
Yeah.
they're fans of the art.
I bet you cell phone cases at concerts would sell actually.
Oh, jeez, it hurts my head. It would.
It's right, like if the price point's right, it kind of like it fits the
this
audience
is the
a little.
official. I bought this at the case. Maybe even throw a signature on it. I don't know. Yeah, probably.
But like, a bunch of the artists I talked to, their pillows sell really well
The pillows sell really well.
because
Okay.
they've got like nice abstracty art. Put it on a pillow. Someone
Okay.
sits it on their couch. It's a nice accent piece.
Nice.
But then like the pillows were clashing with the cell phone cases, and like I see this all the time when people are doing print on demand.
Yep.
So like I'm not trying to call out any of the business owners that I talked to, because there were like a lot of small business owners that were just using the tools that were available to them.
Yep.
And going, okay, this print on demand service I'm using offers a bunch of different things. I'm going to experiment with all of them. And of course they did that because all they knew was that was available. They didn't have a business mentor, someone like teaching them who was familiar with the e-commerce world saying, no, Amazon can sell every product. If you are an individual small business owner, you need to sell a few things really, really well.
And you'll be fine.
And
You'll be fine. And you way less headaches.
Yep.
Yeah. Another set of challenges will present itself, but like, and again, go back to who your user personas are. What do they value? If you make like nice abstract art, pillowcases work.
Yeah.
Great. Good.
Couple more we should touch on before we change the topic still. Still a ton of misinformation surrounding SEO.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about this because we have been offering SEO work. It's something that early on as a company, we didn't offer SEO at all.
Nope.
We told a lot of companies, because we were focused primarily on really small businesses, that they didn't need SEO.
Yeah.
And it's something that we are selling more of now. We're building out actually a service offering for SEO that we're going to be really putting some effort behind. We're working with with Christina, who's a great SEO expert. She's been on our YouTube channel before, and we're going to be selling SEO ethically.
Oh,
Meaning
yeah.
We're going to sell SEO to companies that are a good fit for SEO, and we're going to clearly explain what to expect from the process, what they can get out of it, and how long-term it is as a marketing strategy. There's lots of good reasons to do SEO once you hit a certain scale.
Yeah, it has to be at a certain scale, and you have to be in the right space for it, because like you're generating content. No one is interested in reading your plumber's blog. No one is interested in reading your, there's very few custom, and again, because it's service-based.
So with that example in particular, if they're doing any kind of like how-tos, that's a really good way to build authority.
The blog, yes, the authority place, when it comes to service-based companies, you only have so many people in your geographic region. So yes, the how-to videos, if you want to teach people how to change a faucet, for example, you're going to be teaching people all over the world on your YouTube channel how to change a faucet. So you'll never have gotten that work anyways. You'll have created a nice video, and the person in BC will see you, even if you're in Ontario. It's not going to cause loss of revenue. But yes, it's going to be a very, very big authority play. Like, yeah, look at me. I've got a whole bunch of people because I teach people how to do stuff online. Going to be a little bit harder to generate revenue from that if you're trying to treat SEO purely as I put the work in SEO. I see it on my bottom line.
Now,
different.
We've talked to Christina about this before, because this is something that I struggle with as not an SEO expert, is does that blog make any sense if you are something like a plumber? And from what we talked to Christina about, I think it still does.
It's just different.
Well, no, it's because SEO doesn't work for anyone if you're trying to just get them to your site, reading an article, and then making a purchase.
Oh, yes, in this case, yes.
Right? It doesn't work for anyone ever doing that, because pages that are set up for SEO and pages that are set up for conversion are fundamentally different, and it's really tough to make a page do both.
Oh, it's yes.
But in any case where they're coming to your website for SEO content, I don't see any reason why that plumber can't retarget those customers through ads, so that when they're trying to Google an actual plumbing emergency that they can't do themselves, they now land back on that website where they read that helpful article and they go, oh yeah,
Joe's Plumbing, or
it's these
Paul's
guys.
Plumbing, or whatever.
I'm going to call them now because they built authority, and there's some reciprocity because they helped me out with this blog post, and now I'm back on their site through SEO.
And that's the more complete, holistic way to do it. Is I'm trying to attract attention, even if they're not ready to convert, or even if they're not ready. So we see this. So moving the goalpost a little bit here from plumbing into another service-based company like pools, larger purchase. There's people that do a lot of research around if they want a pool in their backyard. And there's like a whole bunch of plumbing that has to be done if you need a pool. It's how much research goes into that purchase going ahead of time. And specifically those customers are looking for a local provider and planning ahead. And that's where like SEO can really take off. And then you said mixing it with some retargeting. Yeah, absolutely. That strategy like that.
I think the retargeting is critical.
Critical, because they're not interested in making a purchase, potentially not interested in making a purchase right now.
Yeah,
they're interested in maybe planning or researching or maybe finding some price. If you look at that journey map, they're in the consideration stage.
Yeah,
they're maybe trying to be aware. Maybe even before that, maybe they're in awareness. They're trying to find some pricing or some whatever. And this is true of like people that sell anything that's high ticket: hot tubs, pools, cars. Even like a big addition on a house. Like there are tons of service-based businesses on top of product, running shoes, basketballs, like anything. Like I'm trying to do something before I make a purchase. Gift giving, all the same.
I'm gonna take a hard stance on this, and I want you to tell me if you disagree with this point.
Okay.
No one at all in any industry should spend money on SEO if they're not also spending money on ads.
Ooh. I'm thinking of if there's an exception. There is exceptions.
Okay.
There is exceptions. There are different types of businesses.
So hit me with it, because I think this is worth delving into.
Yeah. So like there's charities, for example. Charities, nonprofits. If they're not spending money on ads, they can still be doing that play. There would be
I would challenge that. So like let's take a look at that example, charities. So number one, I'm going to cheat.
They advertise.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say Google has money available for charities to advertise.
Yep, Google does have nonprofit grants. Yep.
You should definitely be doing ads.
Yep.
Because Google's going to make it way easier on you as a nonprofit.
Yep.
And so I feel that like that alone says before you go and spend a bunch of money on SEO, you should probably spend some money on ads.
Yeah, we'll capture the $10,000 that Google will give you a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would say,
what type of business?
I would take that further. I would say, even as a charity, if you spend money, if you're going to spend money, if you have a budget for marketing, that money will promote your website faster through ads than it will for SEO every time.
Yeah, ads are going to beat the sprint. Like you're definitely going to beat it. It's now, I don't even know if I could separate it, because SEO and advertising are just tools within like the sales marketing layer of business. Why would you separate? Like they're just tools. They're just like, and they often work together. So I'm just trying to figure out in my head, like, would you ever run them? Is there a good opportunity not to run them? Oh, there is. Like, why wouldn't you, like, event-based things? Like, you wouldn't, like, there
are lots of businesses that should be running ads, but not SEO.
Yes.
Lots of, anything time-based, absolutely, like you say, but also small businesses. Like, if you're at a stage where you've got like $2,000 a month for marketing, and that feels like a lot to you because you're still a small business. Yep. That's not going to get you very far in SEO.
No.
And it's going to take a really long time for you to make that back.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put that same budget into advertising,
it's hundreds of clicks. It's hundreds of customers. Yeah.
That's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So, and this is where my my stance that I'm taking is, no one should put money into SEO that isn't already putting money into ads.
I could see that.
Because like if you're at a scale where you can afford SEO, you should have been at a scale where you could afford ads ages ago.
I think that's a big misunderstanding, that people see SEO as like this free marketing tool. Like, oh, I can just do it and it's free. I wish there was just like I've repeated this like a zillion times. I wish I could just sell people this like SEO button where they just flip it and then suddenly their website is ranking 1 on Google. And like, that'd be great. We'd sell it all day long and people would line up to buy it, but that's not.
We could sell that. We'd just be liars.
Yeah, we'd be liars. We'd be liars.
And that's why I wanted to highlight this topic, because we saw a lot of small businesses in that AMA saying, I hired an SEO expert and it didn't do anything for me. I hired an SEO expert who made all kinds of promises and it turns out they were scamming me. And it's like, because
that's a scammy industry. It is.
And like SEO absolutely has value to companies that are a big enough scale where they can benefit from it. companies that are already advertising, because SEO will make your ads more effective.
Yep.
But when you're just starting out, if someone comes to you and says, pay me X amount of money and you'll be top page 1 of Google forever, and it's like,
how does that make your spidey senses not just absolutely tingle? Because like that person is going to be making calls all day long. Like you're on an email list. They just sent that out to 50,000 people. Yeah. Like one, it's really difficult in that service. Like if you're not able to meet with that person on the regular and actually talk about it and create some like benchmark KPIs going, here's how much web traffic I've got right now, here's what's going on. If they don't take the time to understand your business and understand what you're selling and who your customers are, that's one big red flag. You can just spot this right away is, what does your onboarding look like?
Yeah.
And if none of it is about your business, hang up the phone, because they need all the information about your business in order to create the things they need to do to make SEO effective.
I think SEO also falls into a similar pitfall to ads, where you really have to thread the needle in terms of your market. Because if you are, so we talk a lot about whether you should advertise with search engine marketing or advertise on social media. Right? Which set of ads you should pay for.
Awareness versus
if you are a new novel business where like no one's heard of your thing before, but they might like see it, be interested, and then go learn more about it and make a purchase, social media ads make way more sense. Because you want to appear in front of people's feeds when they're just like in an exploratory mood and looking at stuff. Whereas if people are actively searching for a solution to a problem,
plumber near me.
Yeah, if they're looking for your product, you're better off with ads, with search engine ads, because you're going to hit people who are actively looking for that thing they're typing it into a search engine. So that's kind of the split for social media advertising versus search engine advertising. SEO, I think, has similar requirements to search engine advertising.
Oh yeah.
If your product is new and novel, SEO is going to do nothing for you because no one is searching for that thing.
Correct.
But then by the same token, SEO has the same fall off that ads do, where at the far end of this, if your industry has a ton of competition, is like really close to being commoditized, where like everyone in the world is trying to sell into this finite number of people who are looking for that thing, you're going to really struggle to compete with all the other companies that have already been building up their digital footprint for years, already have a search engine presence, and have an established ad budget and advertising strategy.
Even if I go back to that, so like I absolutely agree with that. Even if I go back to like the plumber near me, there is a plumber that appears first, second, third, and SEO goes into that play going, who's got the most amount of reviews, who's been in business the longest, who's the closest, like there's a whole bunch of other factors that go in that the plumber needs to care about, even if they're not in, even if like the search ads make sense for that person. Because if you can now change some of your internal processes going, when the job's done, can you ask for a review? Did you do good work? Can you get them to upload a picture? What can we do to get more value from the customer that isn't just money, that's going to help generate or help your marketing team out? Like there's so many strategies that go into play, even if you only service like 2 cities.
It's even better if you only service a couple of cities.
Yeah.
Because like that plumber has some key advantages. It's a product people are searching for.
Yep.
And it's by its very nature limited to a specific target market in one geographic area.
No global competition.
Yep.
Like there's no big plumbing outfit that's going to go plunk down and cannibalize your entire, like very unlikely.
I'm sure there are like trade service chains that open up. There must be, right? Like
it's a union. It would be a union shop. So they would open a shop, they'd be union, they'd pull their guys from.
So like, is there no electrician equivalent of like a Jiffy Lube?
Not really.
That seems crazy to me.
Yeah, not really.
How is that industry not caught up to every other indry in terms of having a branded outfit that's just
that's
countrywide and everyone knows the name?
So like just so everyone knows, I'm an electrician, so like I've got a background in this.
Some trades have it. So like my hot water tank is on
Reliance.
Yeah.
So those are product and service companies that are fixed. Reliance is a big one. There are like those big outfits. Typically they've got a product that they install and service, and there's a monthly fit. Like they do that for furnaces, air conditioners, a whole bunch of things. But like you'll see that like for commercial kitchen equipment as well. There'll be like the outfits that do that. But electrician, there's like there are some trades that like there is no, once your electrical is done,
Yeah.
Once you're like, even for like plenty of other things, like there's no big drywall outfit that's got like a chain. Once the drywall's on the wall, the drywall's on the wall.
But there are drywall shops in every town.
There are
Service providers of these services in every town.
Of every scale.
It's surprising to me that there aren't, off the top of my head,
a chain of
companies serving each of these needs. Right? Because like we talked about earlier, there is a chain of piercing companies.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And like Jiffy Lube, there's a chain of car service companies. Like there are chains.
We're super off topic, but that's okay. But
that's okay. That's why we do the stream.
Yeah, that's why we do the stream. but different provincial codes, state codes, it would be different across. Like I'm sure what the oil that you put in your car is the same whether you put it in your car in Ontario versus Quebec versus Manitoba, so they can stock their warehouse. Building codes. So building codes are different. Building codes are different city to city.
That makes sense.
Like it's different to install a hot tub in Guelph than it is in Kitchener.
Yeah.
And that's 20 minutes on the highway.
Reeling this back in, because you pointed out that I've taken this way off topic because I got excited about something. If you are serving a local audience, that's a huge step over most small businesses because you know who your audience is.
Yep.
And if you're selling something that a bunch of people are already going to be searching for because it's a well-known product, and you're not dealing with global competition, SEO and ads are probably a really good fit for your business.
It's
SEO and search engine ads.
Super good.
Yeah.
And then for that, there is difference between global SEO and local SEO. So big time. There are two different strategies. There are different tool sets. Are you and again, from a small business point of view, if you can just dominate one market, not like Ontario, dominate the city you live in. There's enough customers given that you're not in a really, really rural area. There's enough customers in one city to make your business thrive. So if you can't dominate the place, and this goes right back to the too much inventory. Don't feel like you have to spread out because you need more customers. You're not killing it well enough here before you start taking your eye off where you are. Because if you can't sell it here, you're gonna have a really hard time selling it there because there's another one of you over there too.
Yeah.
So,
if we could have a soundbite to end out.
I want you to say the same thing again. I want you to say that little soundbite again, which is you should mix. You should your advertising strategy.
So your SEO will support your ads. If you're not already spending a bunch of money on ads, it probably does not make sense for you to spend any money on SEO because you're not yet at a scale where you're going to be able to capitalize on that investment on a time frame that's going to make sense for your business.
Soundbite. Lovely. This is a really surprising one. I'll jump in here. The surprising number of businesses blaming bots for low conversion rates. I don't believe that's true.
Yeah,
bots are a thing. Yes, they are. I'm not doubting that there are bots. There are fairly easy ways to tell if it's bot traffic or not. There's some basic tools that you can put on your website that are free, and you can track where the traffic is coming from. Now, if a whole bunch of traffic is coming from, pick a random Eastern European country, I would say, there's a whole bunch of bots landing on your site, and there should be some investigation into why.
Unless you're selling into that Eastern European country. If you know that your customers are there, obviously,
great.
It's
sounds good.
Story.
It's not a bot.
Yeah.
So great. So maybe there's a bunch of traffic, but you should be able to figure that out fairly easily. If you can't figure that out, you're gonna have to hire someone to put some tools on the site and then read the data. That's not overly expensive. You're not talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Now, what do you think is more likely? Because the people we heard this complaint from were people who were paying for Google Ads and saying, "Oh, I got a bunch of website traffic, but I didn't get any conversions. I think it's all just bots to make me feel good about the ads."
So, I think. Well, I'm gonna make some assumptions. One, their ad may or may not have been good. Great. The ad probably went to a page that was not set up for conversions.
Okay.
So, two, once they hit that page, the customer was maybe seeing a mismatch between what the ad said and what the page shows. And then walk down the sales funnel, there's going to be probably a problem at every single level of the sales funnel working all the way back up. So the shipping was probably a problem. There probably wasn't great product descriptions. The photography was subpar. The site was probably hard to navigate. They had to make too many clicks. There's a whole slew of things that were probably in the mix.
Yeah.
That are actually causing that. The traffic itself, maybe they got enough traffic, but I don't think everything else was set up. So great. It's really, Google makes it very easy to get an ad up and running.
Now, I want to circle back on the very beginning of that because you said the ad might be bad.
Ad might be bad.
What's a bad Google ad?
Okay, so there's like a bunch of targeting parameters that come right out of Google. So like one of the big pitfalls is people interested in or people actually in. So like, for example, I'm a Toronto business. Do I want to target people in Toronto or do I want to target people interested in Toronto? I want to target people in Toronto because you have to be in Toronto to purchase my product if I'm a restaurant. Great. I don't want to target the people in Windsor that are interested in Toronto because the likelihood of a person traveling from Windsor 4 hours to get to Toronto to go to eat, but they're still interested in Toronto, they're interested in the city, is a mismatch. So there's a bunch of settings probably in the ad campaign itself that were done incorrectly. The keywords could have been done incorrectly. There might not have been enough research around who the actual buyer was.
Yep.
So are we targeting the person that actually has the credit card or are we targeting the child? Because like the parent isn't going to see your ad, but the kid's going to see your ad all day long. How do I get the kid to convince mom and dad to buy the product at the Super Soaker 9000 that the parent is going to have to ultimately buy? There's going to be a whole bunch of targeting mishaps that happen in there. And then the ad probably wasn't refined. So they ran an ad, they built it, and then they ran it, and then they walked away from it, and it was never looked at again. And 2 months went by, or a month went by, and they went, well, I spent X dollars on Google, and I didn't get any sales. They go right back to the website. Well, you should have gone back to the ad. You should have said, what did my ad do? My ad displayed to this many people on mobile, on this, on that, and the other thing, and here's the click-through rate on all of these channels, and here's my top keywords. So like, here's are those keywords things that are related to the site? Yes or no? What keywords did I need to filter out and actually blacklist off of that because I want to stop paying for that keyword? Or they actually, so there's a whole bunch of things.
So, okay, they get those parameters wrong. They get the keywording wrong.
Yep.
They still drove a bunch of traffic to their website.
Yep.
So what was the result of all of that traffic that appeared when those keywords were wrong?
People got to the site, so they saw one thing and were delivered another thing. And then they went, that's not what I wanted. I typed in, I thought I made the right search in Google. It led me here, and I'm going to go, that's not what I was looking for. But the clicks already happened, and they're going to leave. So the bounce rate is going to be huge.
Okay.
Bounce rate's going to be huge because again, we have to meet the customer where they are. So
Sure.
If they're like super well informed, we can use more intelligent language. And if they're like super novice, I'm going to have to dial that back, and I'm going to have to meet them where they are. I'm going to have to use the words they want to use, that they are using, not even the words that they should be using, the words that they are currently using. So like chauffeur and limo driver. No one types in the word chauffeur. We can see that data. No one types in chauffeur. Limo driver, 10-1. Great. The title of a limo driver is a chauffeur, but no one knows how to spell it right. No one's typing it in. We target limo driver.
Right.
Because that's what the normal person uses. The problem is on your website, you don't even mention limo driver because that's not like the polite way to address all of your employees. They're chauffeurs. But I have to meet the customer where they are. Because some of them don't even know what a chauffeur is.
Sure.
It's like, and that's just an example. So like, talk about anything else. Talk about cars, socks, shirts, anything.
Great. The customer, they've seen an ad that's not set up well, and now they got the wrong impression when you reach their website.
Yep.
If your targeting is wrong, would you also say that you're not reaching the right audience?
You're absolutely not. Most of the time, you're not reaching the right audience. If you were reaching the right audience and putting the right product in front of them, then I would have another set of questions going, well, if it was the right audience and the right product, well, they probably would have looked around your site a little bit. They probably would have made at least one click.
Okay.
Or 2 clicks. They probably would have spent a little bit of time on your site if it's the right audience and the right product. You would have to start making some assumptions going, if it's right, but now suddenly they don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That's a hard one for me to rationalize because like they made the search, they're the right audience, you have the right product, and now suddenly they are not interested. Okay, maybe that's 10% of traffic. They get interrupted, but not the bulk.
So,
no way.
if we could wrap this up
So
again
like
in
the
another
bots are not the problem.
So the bots are not the problem.
No.
If you're getting a ton of traffic,
Yep.
and you're not getting conversions, where's the first place you should look?
I'd be looking back at the ads, going, am I targeting the right people? Are my dollars flowing to the right place? Once I figured that out, then I'd go back to the website and I'd figure out what are those people, now those right people doing on my site. What does their user journey look like? What pages are they landing on? How far their scroll is. So there's tools there that you can actually, and they're not even, this is right out of Google Analytics. How far is their scroll depth? What are they seeing? Are their buttons working? Are their pain points being addressed? Is there enough text for people to read? Are you delivering them what people want?
Yeah.
Is your product saying, okay, if this thing's built really, do people care that it's built, super tough? Or is it super flexible? Or what is it? Are you just displaying things that what your customer actually cares about? Is there a little bit of social proof? Does the price point make sense? Am I getting there and I'm being thrown off by a whole bunch of other factors? I'd work myself down the sales funnel and say, what's my problem now? Because I'm gonna have another one. We should be expecting, so there's some numbers for you. I should be expecting at least a 5 to 7% click-through rate on the ad. So I display an ad to someone. If I display to 100 people, between 5 and 7 of them on average are gonna click the ad. So great, I've got 5 to 7 people on my site.
Yeah.
And now I've got another percentage. How many people are actually gonna purchase? Shopify site averages across different industries, 1 to 3% of those people will make a purchase. So like it's a double percentage. So I need like lots of traffic to get there. I'd like to be on the high side of those numbers. And it's not like having a conversion rate of 5% is not unheard of. It's not like it's not, some industries have a little bit more of an advantage there, but yes, we're looking at single digit percentages on both the conversion rate on the ad, the click-through rate on the ad, and the conversion rate on the site. And if those things are low, we have to look back to like what's actually not performing.
Yeah.
Is the ad not performing? So I'd say the bot traffic on the ad. It's like, well, what was your click-through rate on the ad? Is it 35% click-through rate on the ad? Because there's a problem there. Like we refined the targeting on the customer because like we can't have like we can't appeal to that many people. That's
right.
Unrealistic. We have to put more filters in place because ultimately they're just going to get to the site and now we've spent the money and it's the wrong customer and it's gone.
If you're just joining the stream now or you clicked to the end of one of our clips on YouTube, we've been discussing our Shopify AMA that we recently ran, and we've been going into some of the top trends we saw from the AMA. What's next for 2H Media and Shopify?
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
We do. So we have a few more AMAs already in the works. Shopify is going to be, if you are a customer of Shopify, you'll be on one of their email lists. You'll be getting notified directly through them. If you follow us on social media, we'll have all the links out through there because they're not ready yet. But I will definitely say we have another AMA. One is on organic marketing happening at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 20th. And then all the way into March, we have a dual header. Shopify's never done one of this. This is like world first with Shopify. We have a 2-part workshop, an AMA, Tuesday, Wednesday, back to back. One of the Tuesday, and they're all at 11, starting at 11 Eastern Standard Time. The first one is creating a marketing budget for smaller businesses, and then the Wednesday one is actually maximizing a budget if you've already got one. If you've already got a budget and how are you actually refining it is the Wednesday. So more large budget things where you're trying to hone in on Wednesday, basics on the Tuesday. That is March 25th and March 26th. Nice. So you're gonna be getting a whole bunch there as well. And then we should be doing, for the rest of the year, I don't have any more dates because now we're planning out into like,
that's okay.
The rest. It will typically be 1 to 2 workshop or AMAs a month, typically the last week of the month, all of 2025. We've got some cool stuff coming in the works. Some like cool government grant stuff for businesses that we're gonna, I can't tease more about, but if you like getting money from the government, there's gonna be some cool things there. As things shake up, potentially in the Canadian system, we'll be giving you more information there as well. There might be something in person come the summertime. I don't want to tease too much about that. That's looking promising. We might do something in person. It'll be fun.
All this to say,
lots of stuff.
We got lots of cool new topics in the pipeline.
Yeah.
If you're a Shopify customer, keep an eye out for those because it's a great opportunity to get some e-commerce insights.
And even if you don't have a question, just coming by to say hi is super cool.
Yeah.
And if you've never been part of an AMA, it's Ask Me Anything. It's really open. It's really easy.
If you're going to come by to say hi, just do it on the Twitch stream.
On the Twitch stream, though. Yeah.
Not in the Shopify forum. Because then we have to go through and respond to it.
Say those, yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. We're happy to be a part of it. This most recent one was a massive turnout. We had like almost more questions than we could handle. It was really, really good.
It was like 4 or 5 days of answering questions. I don't know if
I still have to do more. I still have to do more because
Yeah.
I've got a bunch that I have to reply to. But yeah, it's a lot. It was like we were completely over. So thank you.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Do you want to read us into our next topic?
Yeah, that was a segue. Should you trust ChatGPT and DeepSeek with your data? Here's what the experts say. On the user-facing side, artificial intelligence chatbots like ChatGPT and DeepSeek appear to be black box. The machine, mighty and all-knowing, takes your prompt, a high school math question, a vacation planning request, can you write this email, please? And yeah, often within seconds, performs the task. It's pretty cool. But the information you give the chatbot is valuable. Should you be worried about what companies like OpenAI and DeepSeek are doing with it? Increasingly, some authorities are concerned. Australia has banned DeepSeek from all government devices, while Italy has removed it from app stores, a move that echoes the same government's decision to temporarily ban ChatGPT in 2023. Alongside traditional data concerns, DeepSeek's Chinese servers have sparked worry over national security, including that from the White House. The advice, experts say, is to exercise caution about what you share with AI chatbots. The Chinese-based DeepSeek debuted last month, rattling tech giants and wiping billions of dollars off the markets overnight. It was reportedly made at a fraction of the cost of its American rivals, and weeks later, it's still the top free app on Apple, surpassing the second-place ChatGPT. DeepSeek says it collects the information you provide, profile info, text, and audio inputs, and files input into the chatbot, as well as information on your device, including your device model, operating system, keystroke patterns, and IP addresses. It also tracks cookies. ChatGPT also collects the information you provide, account information and prompts, as well as device info, IP address, and cookies. The Star, alongside the Canadian Press, the Globe and Mail, Postmedia, and CBC, is suing OpenAI, the company that runs ChatGPT, alleging it has illegally used the Star's articles to train its chatbot. And this is coming from thestar.com. So crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I'll kick this off. This is I'll say this, but this is just gonna be a reminder to everyone. What you put online can be used against you.
Yeah.
If you put something on Facebook, so outside of what an AI is, or outside of a chatbot, if you give away your information, it will likely be stored and used for a purpose you did not initially intend. And who knows how long it's going to get stored, and who knows who's going to buy and sell it. You gave up something, so don't give up something valuable for one.
Yeah.
Treat your personal data and your things that you value with care and respect. Along the side of, it does take a little bit of you need to be vigilant.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. So I've never used the DeepSeek. I've used ChatGPT a ton. I've played around with it. It's super cool. It's mid-journey generating image. I've done a lot with it, but I would never give it something like material. Like I've never, yeah. But
so to that point, question number one, is DeepSeek any more of a risk than other AI solutions?
It's you're like the U.S. government versus the Chinese government. They're both scary.
I mean, like
we're
not cybersecurity experts.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. We are a marketing agency and we do some tech consulting.
Yep.
But my instinct is any website that you interact with is going to take your data and use it for things.
Yes.
Google is going to take your data and use it for things.
Yep. Your phone
is going to take your data and use it for things.
Your phone. You can have a Samsung. Pick a phone.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to pick. You sign away that user agreement that you sign when you do something with someone else's technology. Have you ever read one? Have you ever read one? I've never read one. The user agreement on like your remember your Apple iTunes? No, I've never read one. Not a chance. There's no way. There's no way. I've read it. I'm not a lawyer, but I can make some intelligent assumptions. This is not in my benefit.
Sure.
To me signing my things away, I get the device, I get access to the program. But I also know as like a citizen of the 2025, don't give it the things that aren't its.
Now, I think it's reasonable for governments to ban AI.
I absolutely
apps
think it's
on government devices.
on government devices.
Like that seems like the most obvious thing in the world.
I think I would be it would be hard to make an argument otherwise, period.
Right?
Like to what purpose do you need ChatGPT on your government cell phone?
There's lots of good reasons to have ChatGPT on your government cell phone. Lots of good reasons. Lots of government people send emails that could be sent more professionally
Through
or
that,
faster
Yep.
by getting help from an AI chatbot.
they could.
Right? So like any of the generic business productivity use cases are going to apply to government employees as well.
Of course. But
For government suppliers, for government employees, information security
has to be higher than operational efficiency. It has to be.
Yeah. Well,
the security of my tax records has to be higher than you writing an email faster.
the standard for information security is higher for a government employee than it is for a small business owner who's
Managing a restaurant.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Agreed.
If you're a health provider, don't go anywhere near them.
No, if you're a lawyer, storing your clients' records and case files, don't go near them.
So like there's lots
If you're an accountant firm,
there's lots of protected industries. Anytime you're working with someone else's data that you need to keep secure, don't go near software that could leak that data.
Yeah.
Now, is DeepSeek any more of a risk than other AI solutions? Well, if you're a member of the US government, they are probably more concerned with where the data could leak to through a Chinese app than through an American app.
Oh yes.
Right?
We've seen that through TikTok. We've seen that over and over and over. We see that with DJI drone. We see that all over the place.
For your average business owner who is just like trying to figure out the text for their email newsletter to help tell people about a cool new shirt that they're stocking,
I would be fine with it.
It probably doesn't make a huge difference. Like
No.
if you're just doing like really low impact stuff where the information isn't super valuable in the first place.
Don't text to talk your credit card number into your
chatbot.
Your chatbot,
regardless of which chatbot you're using.
Don't do that. Don't manually type it. Put some common sense things.
In the article, the Star noted that alongside a Canadian Press, the Globe and Mail, etc., they're suing OpenAI for OpenAI's illegal use of their articles to train its chatbot.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Well,
just for a second.
Okay.
The how these work, a large language model, and I'm no expert, they're using a large amount of data to train a model to spit out the next thing. And they had to get that data from somewhere, and there's heaps of data online. So they
stole it.
They just went, allegedly.
Sure.
Allegedly.
I don't even think it is allegedly, because like Sam Altman, his excuse was
they don't know.
No. His excuse was not that they don't know. His excuse was that it was so important that they developed this technology that like
they could break the law.
Just needed to do it anyways, guys. Like this is going back.
I wish I could use that.
Now what I've heard some anecdotes about this that is hilarious. I guess OpenAI has been complaining about DeepSeek allegedly being trained on OpenAI's data, and they're going, "Oh no, we own that data."
I saw a hilarious meme of a little cat
fishing
into the river, and he's got his catch in a bucket beside him, and he's happily fishing in this river that he doesn't own. And then it just says ChatGPT on his t-shirt, and then right behind him it's DeepSeek, and DeepSeek's rod is not going into the river; it's going to that cat's bucket of fish that he's already caught. I was like, that's funny. And again, we're not experts at this, but that is likely what is happening. I'm going to write that one down though. So, an excuse that works with Aron. It was just so important. I had to do it. I'm just going to write that down. It was so not a good excuse.
No, not my words. His words. Yeah, and this is what he came out to the world and said is, no, we needed to do this. It must
be done.
It's important that we develop this technology.
Okay.
This was like in the early ChatGPT days when everyone was like making a big deal out of it. More so than they still are.
Think of the shareholder once in a while.
In AI. Well, yeah. I mean, so to that point, what does the emergence of less expensive solutions mean for the future of AI?
There's a couple of cool things. Things become a little bit more green, less need for crazy amount of energy and processing and everything like that. If everyone's just ripping each other off, then they don't have to do anything from scratch. It's less.
Well, so one of the most exciting things about DeepSeek's models is that they are much more efficient in terms of processing requirements.
Yeah.
Compared to
less.
So you don't need a top of the line GPU in order to run AI models locally.
Right.
Which also answers our second question for this topic. You know, what's the safest way to run AI models? If you want to run AI models and you don't want your information getting sent to anyone, there are models that you can download and run locally.
Yeah.
And you can run offline, right? You can have a dedicated computer
to do it
that doesn't have an internet connection.
You're going to need to be way more tech savvy than your average bear to do that. So like if you were a large accounting firm, there are safe ways to do this, and if you had like an IT department, you could do that and gain some. So, but you're going to need some support to do that. So there are things there that are out in the world, but again, if you're just like a normal business owner that's running, you know, the restaurant, you're not having an air gap computer with your AI model on it to help you write a promo code. Not happening. So that's cool. It's cool. There's like lots of like other things coming out. You'll see more tech news related to AI because it's still emerging. There's like some stuff coming out of the U.S. Congress right now around banning things and fines and doing what. And it's gonna. This world is like just emerging, so it's new and fresh and cool. But yeah, AI. Like I wouldn't really necessarily be afraid of it. But again, don't make it easy for someone to steal your data. Don't just
And I don't know if we answered the question about like the future of AI. It's too early to tell.
It's way too early to tell.
Yeah. I think the fact that models are coming out faster with lower processing requirements means that, you know, potentially we could see AI used in some much more useful ways.
Yeah.
I'd love to see AI packed into devices in a way that's, you know, just not, we took someone who's wrong all the time and stapled them onto your device.
If I start seeing in the registries a lot of Sarah Connor and John Connor names start popping up, and
then we know that the future of AI is really cool.
Is really cool if all the Terminator stuff. Yes. Cool. You wanna read us into the next one, Aaron?
I do. Yeah. Let's kick it off. Anand suggests Canada's interprovincial barriers could crumble within a month. The regulations that are often criticized as barriers to trade between Canadian provinces could all crumble within a month, according to Federal Cabinet Minister Anita Anand. Following an announcement at the Port of Halifax on Wednesday, a reporter asked Anand if interprovincial trade barriers could be dealt with, wiped away, in 30 days. The short answer to your question is yes, responded Anand, the Minister of Transport and International Trade. Anand suggests her optimism was based on an emergency meeting last week between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the premiers. We are making incredible, fast-paced progress with all of the provinces and territories, she said. Eliminating interprovincial trade barriers between now and Trump's 30-day deadline on the pause for new tariffs would be a remarkable accomplishment and the culmination of work that's been ongoing for decades. In 1995, the provinces, territories, and the federal government formally agreed to remove impediments to trade between jurisdictions. Those barriers include things like prohibitive restrictions on the sale of alcohol, technical barriers such as vehicle weight standards, and regulatory barriers such as licensing and paperwork requirements. The Agreement on International Trade was replaced in 2017 by the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, which recommitted the parties to doing more to reduce red tape.
And that's internal trade, not international trade. The Agreement of Internal Trade.
Sorry, the Agreement of,
Internal Trade, yeah.
And this article came from CBC. First discussion question. From an e-commerce perspective, what do we see as the biggest interprovincial trade barrier?
From an ops perspective, it's shipping.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, shipping is a pain in Canada compared to the US.
Regulations aside, Canada needs better shipping infrastructure.
Yeah. Just after we're getting over a giant Canada post-strike. The USPS has an amazing system that we could completely model. The Canadians could learn something from the US shipping system.
They have a really good system called Media Mail that I think we've talked about on stream before.
Refresh them.
So the way Media Mail works in the US is there are really good shipping rates for shipping packages that do not contain letters in them.
Yeah.
So if you're not trying to send like information that is subject to the same standards that the US Postal Service has always upheld forever, and you're just trying to send stuff around the country, there's really good rates for it, which makes e-commerce really viable going from state to state in the US. It's really cool. Back when I was in the board game space, we relied on Media Mail a couple of times to ship like massive boxes of board games, hundreds at a time, to some of the trade shows we were going to. Now, it wasn't as good as relying on like a distributor's infrastructure, But in a pinch, it was still totally doable.
Yeah, you're not like it's so small business friendly.
Yeah.
Like
Whereas in Canada, shipping is complicated and it's expensive.
And like again, and what is even worse is from a Canadian perspective, there's a lot of Canadians that shop from US stores, so they see, you get a glimpse through the window of going like, well, why when I buy there, it's like super easy, and then why when I come back to Canada, maybe I got a snowbird, maybe I'm traveling, like it's like, why is this different? And it doesn't need to be at all. So like in terms of interprovincial, and that's out, again, keep in mind that's outside the things like cannabis and alcohol and guns and band, like all of that stuff. That's just normal stuff.
From an e-commerce perspective, I mean, the changes in red tape, I don't think makes a huge difference to your typical e-commerce store. No,
there's a whole bunch of stuff if you're like an actual logistics provider. So like if you have like an 18-wheeler, if you have a trailer and you're traveling across Canada, like the article says, the weight stuff. My father used to do this way back. Yep. Like it was one of his first jobs was driving a truck for a brewery, and it was terrible because he'd have to drive from here to here, and there'd be like paperwork and licensing and this and that, and it had to be like a specific weight under here. So you had to like find the lowest common denominator and meet that one, which meant like the truck is underloaded, which means like why? Because I have to drive through. It's like all of that can be simplified because I just got to get goods from like, I got to get glass bottles from here and get the glass bottles there. Yeah. What are we doing? That should be the easiest thing, because I don't even have a reason why it shouldn't be the easiest thing. It's like I'm putting stuff on a truck and getting it from A to B. So
now, as far as our like core audience is concerned, the shipping is
the shipping sucks.
So Canadian government, if you're listening, figure out a way to give us better shipping infrastructure.
Better shipping infrastructure would be sweet. Every Canadian business would benefit.
Yeah,
all of them. I don't care if you're shipping this way up into like across provinces, into the states, into the territories. So, shipping infrastructure benefits everyone.
To that note, there's been a big push with everything going on in the world right now to buy local. A lot of people are pushing for you to buy Canadian. Yep. And one thing I've commonly seen is people saying, "Oh, make a commitment to drop Amazon and shop from Canadian."
That
companies.
Is not that's like a half measure, because there's lots of little local Canadian businesses that operate through Amazon because they can't get the same.
Sure.
So I'm a little local.
I was taking that in a different direction, but I like what you're saying with this.
Right? Like I'm a Canadian business and I'm in a small market, and like my business is like great. I'm doing something, but I can't thrive. I can't even sustain myself on my little local community. I have to sell into a bigger market to make my little shop stand out, because I have to do that. So I would really like.
But so the plea wasn't for businesses to stop selling on Amazon. The plea was for shoppers to stop just going to Amazon. Go to a local Canadian company first.
Go to a local Canadian company first. Right.
One of the challenges with this, though, is Amazon has shipping nailed down.
Oh, they have it crushed. It's like magical how good it is.
Other businesses can't compete with that at all.
No.
So like that's one of the biggest barriers to my mind to shopping Canadian, is that our shipping system needs to be sorted out. Even in terms of things like a viable Amazon competitor. I think one of the biggest things holding back the Shopify Shop app from competing with Amazon as a marketplace is that their fulfillment option doesn't make sense for small merchants, but a big volume of the product available through the Shop app is coming from small merchants. So there's no easy way to get all of your purchases from different merchants that are all on Shop shipped to you consistently.
Right. And I brought up on my screen here, there's Shopify had come out with a competitor to Amazon. It is nowhere close to what Amazon has. It's a
competitor to Fulfilled by Amazon specifically. Because the Shop app is a competitor to Amazon Marketplace. What you're showing off is a competitor to Fulfilled by Amazon.
Fulfilled by Amazon, FBA. So like Shopify has a fulfillment network that is very similar to Fulfilled by Amazon, FBA. It's just not there yet. It's only available to merchants once you hit a certain size. You'll need to be doing like millions of dollars in revenue, and like thousands of orders of a month for them to actually stock it. But Shopify does have warehouses. They do have this, but it's not at the same level.
Is that if you're brand new and you're just like, you're one of the people who heard from a YouTuber that you need to be selling online and you're diving in, you can go and open up a product that's fulfilled by Amazon.
Oh, immediately.
Right? You can just go start doing that. You can't do that with Shopify.
Huge barriers.
And so our Canadian e-commerce space doesn't have the shipping options to compete with a company like Amazon.
Yep.
And so I think if the Canadian government could figure out a way to improve our shipping situation, that would be a big help.
Yeah.
Now that said, they've said that the trade barriers that they are talking about resolving could be resolved within a month. Do we think that that statement has any actual concrete implications?
I can't believe, because when I first read this the other day when we were putting this together, but like in 1995 formally agreed, like this has been going on for the better part of 30 years now, which is insane, because it's just like, how this doesn't seem like a 30-year problem.
Right.
This seems like you could get this solved in a couple of years, like one government, like whatever, how long a government average lasts is, like, okay, that one government solves this problem, and then maybe there's like amendments to that with the advent of like legalized cannabis, or like maybe there's like somewhat new guidelines that have to go into when new highways open up or something like that. But like this doesn't seem like a 30-year problem. So like,
and so when they say now we can solve this 30-year problem within 30 days,
it's like,
who the heck knows?
I have no idea.
I'd love to see it, but I don't think that they've done anything to show us that it's necessarily going to happen.
I would love to see some data, and I don't even know where I would look, because I don't think there's enough transparency for this, about like what the cost of these barriers actually amounts to in terms of like the average Canadian.
Sure.
Whether that's a slowdown, whether that's like the cost of goods, whether that has to do with a little bit of inflation just because our systems are so inefficient. Like by removing these things, what do we stand to benefit? Because like what they talk about, these barriers include things like, of course there should be restrictions to prohibited things, because as we as a society are admitting, we have prohibited things in our society. Okay, but what about everything else? Like, because it
says the restrictions
on scale such as vehicle weight.
Barriers include things like prohibitive restrictions. So they're not saying that the things are prohibitive.
On the sale of alcohol.
I get that, but they're saying that the restriction is prohibitive.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So like,
they're saying that the restriction stops that business from being able to function, which is bad.
Which is bad. Like I don't understand why we can't. So like, how many small breweries do we know? Why can't they sell their alcohol?
Oh yeah.
Like there it is. Like, okay, you make a good beer, or like, let's actually talk about this, because this is in the news currently. There are Canadians stocking up on California wine.
Sure.
In preparation for these tariffs. Okay, great. You like California red wine. Awesome, cool. Why do we have prohibitive restrictions on Canadian winemakers if I can't get my wine to other Canadians, but I can get a California red that's 7,000 miles away into an Ontario LCBO, but the winery that's in BC, which is technically closer, we can't get a wine from the West Coast into an LCBO like that.
That's
right?
kind of a rough example, because you can get them in the LCBO.
You can.
That's actually no problem.
But
the problem is that they can't ship it to us directly, not easily.
I should be able to go right to the. I should be able to get because
they should like this. Yeah, if you can buy cannabis online, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to easily buy alcohol.
That you should be. So like, this isn't. I mean, again, this isn't a firearm. This isn't something that is. It's prohibited, but like, there should be ways for people to do trade, and these are some of like the biggest businesses and biggest things that Canadians like. So, yeah. And again, removing that red tape, whenever we can remove red tape around things that like we as a society don't, there should be red tape around some things and not around others. If we can get that gone, again, it's just disheartening. I hate a 30-year problem.
I'd love to see the government solve this 30-year problem with red tape. They've said that they could. They've said that they're in talks about it. We'll see if that amounts to anything.
Please do it.
Do you want to read us into the next topic?
Yes. Yes. Rogers files response to Competition Bureau saying it hasn't misled customers about unlimited data plans. So Rogers Communication, Inc. has denied allegations made by the Competition Bureau that it has misled customers with false claims about its unlimited data plans, saying that the lawsuit ignores the company's clear disclosures and unreasonably targets Rogers for an industry-wide practice. In December, Canada's competition watchdog took legal action against Rogers for what it called misleading representations of its unlimited data plans, alleging that the company was falsely advertising its infinite wireless phone plans as offering unlimited data. Rogers Infinite plans provide customers a certain amount of high-speed data, after which their internet speed is throttled. On Thursday, Rogers filed its response to the Competition Tribunal, the court that hears such cases, it argued that it repeatedly and unambiguously indicates the cap and conditions for its plans in its advertisements on its website and at several points during the sale process in line with the wireless code set by the telecom regulator. The ordinary consumers in the market for unlimited wireless services are not vulnerable, are capable of understanding clear and repeated disclosures of speed reduction, and are clearly familiar with the option to purchase high-speed data buckets of different sizes and at different prices, Rogers said in its filing. While Commissioner of the Competition Matthew Boswell has alleged that the data cap was not clearly indicated in advertisements, Rogers said that the collection of ads used by the Bureau to argue its case were highly selective and misleading. Rogers said that the Bureau improperly and unfairly singled out the company in its lawsuit, given that its infinite plans have been on offer for years and its competition, including BCE, which is Bell Canada, TELUS, and SaskTel, offer similar unlimited plans with nearly identical terms and advertising practices, and this comes from the Globe and Mail. This feels a lot like the all-you-can-eat, and like when the big guy walks in the room, you're like, okay, not you.
You've seen the Simpsons episode with those sound like the actions of a man who had all he could eat.
All you can eat.
Yeah.
I had to say that because we use Rogers.
We use
Rogers. It's like
our internet options in Canada are a lot better than they used to be.
Yeah, we got like Rogers and Bell.
As good as a lot of the rest of the world.
So like you're on one of the big three.
How do data caps work, and how do they used to work?
Okay. How does a data cap work? Cool. When you sign up, and again, because I was thoroughly told and reminded during the advertisements and the sales process, great. You're on what Rogers calls an infinite number XX plan. So it's infinite 60 or infinite whatever. That's what they brand it. And you're going to get a whole bunch of gigabytes of data on your mobile phone. Cool. And that's going to be at one speed, and they're going to say, hey, but if you like go over and you're like doing crazy stuff on your phone and you end up needing a lot more than 300, you need 3000. Well, as soon as you're over that, it's going to be at a different speed. It's still free. There's still no extra charge. You're not going to see like a surprise line item on your bill. It's just going to be what you're doing is going to be slower. So that's what that really means.
It used to be that all of the plans available had an actual cap.
Yes.
And when you went over that cap, they would start billing you.
Yeah, they would send you a reminder. Hey, you've used your 5 gigabytes.
Yeah.
And then like every gigabyte or every 100 megabytes after that is like
X amount of dollars.
And it was like, I remember
crazy.
those. I was like, holy
fees.
smokes, this is wild.
And what happened was the Canadian
Wi-Fi.
government stepped in and said, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You can't charge overage fees for data caps anymore.
Right.
And all of the major telecom companies providing data plans said, okay, we're just going to throttle the data when it gets past these limits.
Yep.
And we're going to advertise it as unlimited data. And
it is unlimited. Like,
it is unlimited to what we had before.
It is unlimited. You could turn your phone on the first of the month.
Yeah.
And use it to the end of the month, and you have data.
Yeah.
As much as you want. It's just they are not, and they do say this to Rogers. This is the difference between what it is and how Rogers advertises it, because there's going to be lots and lots of Rogers formats, and this is probably true of Bell Canada. This is probably true of TELUS. In your advertising format, so let's say you're putting something, banner ads, maybe you've got brochures. You've got a physical amount of space that you have to play with. And for you to put all of that information in a small little piece of inventory, like a banner ad, it's very difficult. Typically, there's a small piece of print with a couple of asterisks, and it's going to be like full terms here, or see additional details, or terms and conditions apply, yada yada yada. And it will not be as clear as what the ad says for like unlimited data for $49.99 or whatever it is. Great. Now, to what extent their ads were misleading, I haven't seen these ads, so maybe they were very misleading. I doubt it. I've never seen one.
Okay, I'm going to take a. So you're coming off very pro Rogers in this segment, which is interesting because I'm kind of in the other camp.
I'm coming off from like the advertising side of this is like calling your product. This is like calling, what's the thing that like this was maybe the company. This was in the 90s. The company that McDonald's bought their beef from was called 100% Canadian beef.
Yeah.
So they could say in their advertising, all our beef is 100% Canadian beef because that was what they labeled.
I've heard that anecdote before too. I actually have no idea if that's true.
I don't know if that's true or not either. But that's what they did in their advertising campaign. But when you name the product Unlimited,
the anecdote is that's what they did.
That's what they did.
But we don't actually know that because neither of us looked into it.
No. But when you call something Unlimited, and that's your product name is Unlimited.
Yeah.
When you start throttling something, that's a limit.
Yeah.
So how unlimited is it when it's not unlimited?
Well, I mean, you can still have
it's an asterisk. So like, should the ad say Rogers Infinite Unlimited asterisk?
So here's the thing. Without having a look at the ad, are typical consumers able to understand Rogers speed reductions? Because Rogers is saying
yes.
like, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
People are familiar with buying buckets of data. They know how this works. That has not been my personal experience. I have talked to a lot of people who don't realize that the change was ever made. I've talked to a lot of people who still think that they're going to get paid extra, like they're going to have to pay overages if
their
they use too
Wi-Fi
much
falls
data.
off or something like that. I've got people in my own family that are like, there's definitely misconceptions around. Oh, I can't use my own data. I've got to be on the Wi-Fi. What's the Wi-Fi password? It's like, well, who the heck is your telecom provider? Because like that's
right. Like that
can't be.
It's not going to cost you anymore. That's not allowed anymore. Now.
So there's definitely...
I can't blame Rogers' lawyers for saying the things that lawyers would say under these when faced with these allegations.
Lawyers will be lawyers.
And then the spokespeople for Rogers are going to say what the lawyers told them to say. So fair enough.
Yep.
And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say how this is going to play out in court. But as a consumer who's fairly tech savvy and answers a lot of tech questions for friends and family, I just don't think I think it's disingenuous to say that consumers understand how all these plans work.
And again, as Canada's an older society now, there's more people, there is misconceptions, and I think Rogers tries to it's hard to educate people.
Rogers tries to meet the letter of the law. It's better for Rogers if people see Unlimited and think, it's unlimited.
I just remember, and this was a while back because I was told about this. I just happen to remember it. They didn't try to explain it to me. There was no education about what a throttle was, about any of that. They said, here's the plan, the Rogers whatever, 95. I don't even know what it was. It was something Rogers Ignite Unlimited something. Cool. That's the one. Rogers Infinite whatever. That's the one. And here's the data and here's how much stuff. And I went, that meets my needs.
So I want to call something out specifically from the article.
Yes. Thank you.
Rogers doesn't say, we educated people really well on this and we were super transparent. Rogers says that their efforts were in line with the wireless code set by the telecom regulator.
That sounds exactly what a corporation will always fall back on.
Well,
because it's like, you always have to meet
if they were doing a really good job, they wouldn't just say it's in line. They would say that they exceed the requirements.
Yes.
They would tell people what a good job they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's not in their best interest to educate people on how these plans work.
There is something here. So like there's this has misled customers about unlimited data plans. So typically when there's a lawsuit, someone had to have been harmed in some way or another, emotionally.
The Communication Bureau is saying that consumers have been harmed.
So consumers have been
false
harmed.
Advertising. They're not getting what they thought they were getting.
So I would love to know. So this is the framing. I would love to know how many people are on a wireless plan on a phone that said, I'm paying whatever $100 a month, which is a lot, and I'm not getting the speed I expected because I'm being throttled now.
It's probably more likely that there's a bunch of people on wireless plans being throttled who just don't understand why their internet is slow.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Right. So one of the things what Rogers said is, I'm trying to find the specific line. So what they say is, ordinary consumers in the market for unlimited wireless services are not vulnerable and are capable of understanding clear and repeated disclosures of speed reduction. Consumers can't be capable of understanding disclosures of speed reduction because most consumers, in my experience, don't even understand the specific notation of speeds that our telecom providers use to explain what speed of data you're getting.
I could even go one further than that. I don't think the average person knows the difference between download and upload.
Right.
Why are they different speeds? I had that conversation last week with my parents.
Yeah.
Speedtest.com, and download uploads. Why is our upload so low? Okay, I'm coming over. I'm not doing this on the phone.
I saw, so like, I don't know if they still do, but at one time they would always list their speeds in gigabits.
Oh yes, gigabits.
Which are not gigabytes.
No. Oh no.
A gigabit is much smaller than a gigabyte.
Yeah.
But they just use the letter acronym to say what it is.
Whoa.
Your average consumer is going to see a GB and think gigabyte.
Yep.
Your average consumer doesn't know what a gigabit is. And so, I think Rogers' stance that most consumers or ordinary consumers will understand this is just clearly disingenuous.
Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't say they're vulnerable, but I also say that they're not
well, you just don't like the word vulnerable.
The vulnerable because this is the lawyer framing it this way from Rogers' point of view. It's like we're not yeah.
But if they don't understand what they're buying, then they're absolutely vulnerable.
If they don't understand what they're buying, you are that's predatory. So like technically that would be vulnerable.
Right? Like it's not saying that they come from a vulnerable group. It's saying that like they are vulnerable because they don't know.
When's the last time you bought something from a telecom provider?
It's been a while because we figured out that we get better rates on our phones if we just
go right to the manufacturer.
So, but most of the people I know in my personal life still get their phones.
So go to Rogers store. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell a quick story here because this is quite incredible. Back when I was doing before this phone, before we moved to these phones, I had a different Samsung.
Sure.
And I walk into the Rogers store because that's the phone I want and they're the closest one. And there's the deal I want and everything. And I've done a little bit of research. And there is a very young person. They're either they could have been in high school. Sure. Don't know their age. And they're walking me through this. And Rogers has they have taught a very young person how to get me to sign a contract that needs a paperclip.
Yeah.
Because a staple is too measly. How to sign on to this for 36 months, because it was even a 36-month contract back then. So like the processes that they have in place to educate their staff on how to get me to sign a wireless contract and the back-end systems are immense. And I was like, holy smokes. And I was asking this person and they're like, oh yeah, well, I had to go through a bunch of training and this and that, and they got to do this. So clearly they know how to educate. They're gonna do something to get a young person to do this, but I don't think they're as motivated to do that with the rest of it. And I mean, if you've ever opened up a cell phone brochure, there is a lot of fine print on that thing.
Oh yeah,
there is holy moly. And that's
who's
true
reading
the fine print?
That's true with any major telecom. Our last discussion topic on this article is: was Rogers, as they claim, unfairly targeted?
I'd have to go back to the ads. I'd have to see. I mean, I think it's predatory when you're putting baby pigs and chameleons and targeting children in ads for phones. It's just like, TELUS does this. Like when I was in the movie theater last time,
random stance.
It's just like how it's unfairly targeted. Was the advertising predatory, and was it predatory compared to the other people?
So let's say, as Rogers seems to imply, it's exactly the same as everyone else.
Well, if it is,
if
it's the same as everything else, they should all have lawsuits.
Well, so then you would agree with Rogers that Rogers was unfairly targeted.
Because
Rogers is not, the question is not were the ads unfairly targeting. The question was was Rogers unfairly targeted with the lawsuit if they're doing the same thing everyone else is doing?
Then I would say it's unfair.
I would disagree.
Why?
Because it's really normal for government bodies to just pick one of the big players in a space.
But is that fair? So just because it's regular, just because it's normal, is that fair?
The question is targeted. So bear with me.
Yeah.
Because I would suggest that if Rogers loses this lawsuit,
they'll go after the
rest of them. Because we see that all the time. That's what the EU's been doing with a bunch of their
so we make one fall, they'll all fall kind of thing? Okay.
Well, no, because listen, you're not going to go to battle with every major company in an industry all at once.
Correct.
So you pick one of the big ones, you try to bring a court case, you win the court case, you establish a precedent,
and you roll it out.
And then you roll it out to all the other ones, one at a time. We're seeing this all over the world with major tech suits.
Yep.
So to my mind, is it the same as everyone else?
I would ask them going, okay, if there are 5 big ones, why did you choose that one?
I
So
mean,
there's 5 big
sure,
ones.
you could delve into
Did
that.
you just flip a coin and say, okay, it's Rogers' turn?
I mean, why not? Or like, I'm sure they have some
the lawyers.
rationale.
I hope so.
But I just think the idea that they, were they unfairly targeted? I can't blame their lawyers for saying that.
A lawyer's never going to try and. Yeah, that's a big fight.
But at the
That's too
same
big a fight.
time, it's just like, well, yeah, they had to pick one. I'm not surprised that they picked one of the big.
And maybe
big
they were.
few.
And this is like where we don't know all the innards. Like they could be the worst one.
Sure. Yeah, it could
Because
be that everyone else's
their
ads are
lawyers
super
saying,
clean.
"Oh, I'm just doing what everyone else is doing." Like that's no. What is it? Ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law. Or like you just because they're like,
Yeah, lots of people breaking a law doesn't
mean-
stop it
so-
from being illegal.
yeah. So like if and again from Rogers' lawyer's point of view, it's like, oh, we're just following them. It's just like, well, that's not going to hold up. So we'll see.
Well, again, we're not lawyers, so we can't.
know.
We can't actually comment on whether or not it will hold up.
No.
It's just how do we feel about the claims Rogers is making?
Yeah, I'm hoping so
Yeah.
we'll circle back on this one too, because like we do like, it's been a wild year
Yeah.
for and this is both Canada and the States. The FTC did some amazing things last year.
Yep.
The Trade Commission and the Competition Bureau in Canada have done some of it. It was like a lot of good news in the last, like, I'm gonna say 15 months out of those things for.
I mean, there's been some major bad news as well. Like the
Right.
net neutrality threats in the U.S. are kind of major.
I was just trying to focus on the wins, because there's been like some wins that I was definitely not expecting, but there's always bad news, Aaron.
I just
There's
mean
always
like
bad
in
news.
terms of like governments cracking down on tech. There's some good, there's some bad.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of good, but the bad ones have been pretty major.
Yes. Well, it doesn't say the size of the suit either. So is this going to be a slap on the wrist? Is this going to be something that is just to create some headline? I don't know the extent
Who
of
knows?
this.
But you know what? We're Rogers customers, so like if we get a payout because Rogers was
That'd be
doing
great.
false advertising, I'd take it.
The other thing that I would love to see is more competition brought into the Canadian economy for telecom.
Oh yeah.
And it would be wild, because like our options as Canadians are very limited, and there's been a lot of lobbying and boycott, like a lot of lobbying.
The telecom space is a tough one because you can go down a whole rabbit hole about how the telecoms got the infrastructure in the first place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, how they got it through grant subsidies and government. Yeah. But I would love to see. Like, it's going to be. I'm normally never a person that says like, oh, more competition's a bad thing.
Sure.
It's like, well,
Final thoughts before we wrap up this stream.
don't. Well, on this specifically, if you are advertising out there, make sure your advertising is true, and don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't
We
lie
say
in
this
your
all the time.
advertising. Yeah, do not lie in your advertising. Do not try to mislead people. That goes for if it's not an ad, if it's your website, if it's something that even you own, like, do not do that. It's not a good idea. So whether or not these guys did it or not, don't. If you're a business owner or someone that's in marketing, it's a bad place to be. Be on the upside of that. So, and if it's gray area, you really need to work together.
I would
with
love
gray.
to see a telecom company come out with like a really slick series of ads, just going, "Hi, we sell the same thing as everyone else, to the same standards as everyone else because they're required by the government." Did you know that when the other big companies offer you these rates, here's why they do it and here's how they have to? The only difference between those companies and our company is we're going to be honest with you about why we're doing it. Like, wouldn't that be cool?
It would be really. So it's interesting that you lead on the transparency there. Have you seen the new Bud Light commercial with Shane Gillis and Post Malone?
I have not. No.
Okay. They're having a Bud Light and they're sitting on the lawn chairs in the front yard, and the whole ad is Post Malone is about to take a sip, and Shane Gillis goes, "You can't actually drink in beer commercials."
Okay.
That's the ad.
Nice.
And then they cheers, and the commercial ends. And I went, that's literally the whole commercial. Two famous people having a beer together, and he goes to take a sip, and the other one goes, "That you can't do that. It's against advertising practice to do that." And I was like,
hilarious.
that's the ad. It's just like describing the advertising practice, which is exactly what you were saying. It's like, oh, it's a good practice to do that. That's why we're gonna do it. And you explained it right. And it was like totally. It wasn't even funny. It was just normal. I was like, oh, that's a great ad. It's a great ad. Good for Bud Light. It was just like one of those things. It was like, that's the ad. Like, we're going to enjoy this, but I can't show you enjoy it. I can't show you that I'm going to enjoy this. Cool.
Yeah.
So there's like lots of transparency that you can lean into your advertising. It normally works.
Transparency is good.
It's super effective.
If you want to work with an agency that takes a really transparent approach and isn't going to try to sell you things that don't make sense for your business, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. Book a free strategy session with one of our experts. We'll take the time to get to know your business, develop a plan that makes sense for you, and answer your burning questions so that you can move forward with confidence and clarity. If that sounds impactful, then book a strategy session. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.